So as all of this plays out, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi talking just a short time ago about the possibility of launching impeachment proceedings. Here's what she said. Watch.
This is about our Constitution. We've talked about the separation of power, and that's a discussion that we have a responsibility to have because we take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. But how it relates to people is about our elections, and central to our democracy are our elections.
All right, Elena Treen, Axios White House reporter, and Melanie Zanona, political congressional reporter, join me now. Elena, let me ask you first. First of all, Speaker Pelosi has said that the Attorney General of the United States of America was not telling the truth to the Congress of the United States and calls it a crime. What do you make of those statements?
Well, we've seen a lot of members of the Democratic Party say that they even think that they should go as far to hold Attorney General William Barr in contempt. I think the more mainstream position that we're seeing is a lot of senators and other Democrats calling on him to resign, which is, of course, a little bit more of a safe avenue to take because they don't really need to put their name on any sort of contempt or legal position in doing so. But yes, she accused a high member of the Attorney General of the Justice Department of committing a crime. And that's, of course, they thought that he had lied in a congressional testimony about whether Robert Mueller's team had thought there was any if there was any problem with the report that he put out, the 4-page summary of the Mueller report. And he kind of indicated that he didn't see any issues on the special counsel's team, any opinions of that sense. But, and then of course we saw this letter come out last week or earlier this week that showed perhaps Robert Mueller did take issue with that summary. And so a lot of eyes are going to be on what Attorney General William Barr does moving forward. And of course, we see Chairman Nadler asking for the full report, unredacted, and so I think we'll see a lot more infighting moving forward.
Melanie, I want to ask you about William Barr's Congress comments last month. He told Congress that he thought spying did occur, and that was obviously what ignited this whole controversy. And I think from there on, the Democrats were furious no matter what he came out with in his letter. He said that the question is whether it was adequately predicated, and I'm not suggesting that it wasn't adequately predicated, but I need to explore that. Those are his words. What will Barr's exploring that entail, and who is going to hold those in contempt if indeed spying did occur on a campaign?
Well, there's a couple things that are going on. First of all, you have the Inspector General for the DOJ actually conducting an investigation as we speak, looking at the FBI's surveillance mechanisms, seeing whether they were improper and justified. They're looking at a couple things. They're looking at whether these use of confidential informants was justified, and they're also looking at the FBI's use of FISA warrants to surveil members of Trump's campaign. But aside from the DOJ, you also have Congress, and they can hold the DOJ accountable as well. Keep in mind, Republicans control the Senate, and Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham has said he is also going to look into this. Obviously, this is something that the Republicans have said more and more. We need to investigate the investigators. They're trying to turn the tables. And I really think you will see this as a sort of counter-programming to the Dem investigation.
I want to move to a startling report. It's in the New York Times on the Russia investigation. According to the newspaper, the FBI sent an undercover agent to meet with former Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, trying to find out whether the campaign was working with Moscow. Papadopoulos describes the alleged encounter. I want you to listen to this.
Barely spoke English. He was very flirty and was trying to do two things. One, to extract information about my professional connections in the Middle East, and two, to see if I had any information that she could potentially extract for me about Trump in Russia, which of course is nonsense. Now, of course, the New York Times reported that she was some sort of agent, but I don't think she was FBI. I think she was CIA.
Okay, so there you go. Papadopoulos, by the way, with this meeting, it was with a woman. It was at her request. She texted him saying, let's meet at a bar in London in 2016. The reason for that meeting was supposed to be that they were going to discuss foreign policy issues. And then out of nowhere, she came out and asks point blank, was the Trump campaign working with Russia? The woman was actually a government investigator posing as a research assistant. How is that not entrapment, Elena?
Well, I can't speak to the legal terms of that, but I will say that this adds more ammunition to what the president and Republicans have been saying for several months and even years now. They've been questioning why this Russia investigation started in the first place, and questioning the FBI's tactics for this and for investigating any sort of potential collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. And to Melanie's point, I think this is, we should look at what's going to move forward from here as a new investigation. A lot of Republicans want an investigation into the beginnings and the origins of the Russia investigation, and I think this is going to be the latest thing they'll use to further that, and we shouldn't expect them to back down, especially with a Republican-controlled Senate and a Republican president.
All right. Elena Treen and Melanie Zanona, thank you very much. That's all the time we have today, but we do appreciate you both coming on.
House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler has set a Monday deadline for Attorney General Bill Barr to respond to a counteroffer for specific portions of the unredacted Mueller report. It comes as a source confirms to Fox News House Democrats are now in direct talks with Robert Mueller about whether he will testify before the Judiciary Committee. And as President Trump says, he will not allow former White House counsel Don McGahn to testify about the Mueller report. Bringing in now Democratic Congressman Harley Rouda, who sits on the House Oversight Committee, watching all of this. Great to see you today, Congressman. Let's get to what happens with Bob Mueller at this point and what sorts of things are being talked about in terms of getting him to appear and testify.
Well, we want to obviously have him come in and give us greater understanding and in-depth facts behind the report, as well as the underlying evidence. And let's keep in mind, there's two parts of this. There's the part about Russian interference in our elections and whether there was any conspiracy among members of Trump's campaign. So there's two pieces to this that we need to explore.
So I've read the report. I had some help. I had a former DOJ higher up help me read through it. But my understanding, and through all of that process as it was breaking last week, was that the Mueller report is 95% or better unredacted, and that it reads pretty easily. So I'm curious to know, when it comes to conspiracy or collusion, why you don't accept what it says. We can get to obstruction later, but there is a conclusion there.
Well, there isn't a conclusion. There's a conclusion by the Attorney General. There's a conclusion by the Attorney General as to the specifics. Bob Mueller was very specific that there was no conclusion, and that's why we have a right to see the actual report as well as the underlying evidence.
So it's not a Rorschach. So, I mean, there is a conclusion reached on collusion/conspiracy, which is really the crime, because collusion is not. But on obstruction, I could see you saying that. But you have to at least look at those 400-plus pages, much of which is already unredacted, and see that part. Why do you see it so differently?
I don't suggest I see it differently. I see it that there were cases of specific examples of potential obstruction. And we have an obligation under Article 1 of the Constitution to investigate this. Now, where it leads, that's a completely different question. But I also think we keep losing sight in these discussions, whether it's with me or anybody else in the media, that we need to stay focused on what Russia did. The fact that the president spoke with with Putin today for an hour and tweeted out the Russian hoax, when we have a clear report showing Russia's involvement in trying to influence or actually influencing our election, we'll never know. Why isn't he talking about that?
You don't know that the Russians interfered? I mean, that's what our intelligence agencies have told us. What Democrats, however, argue is beyond the facts that it did so, Russia, for the benefit of the current president. I want to bring in now Representative Andy Biggs for something that he said. He's of Arizona, saying that Democrats are going after William Barr because they're afraid to go after the president. Watch.
They're just trying to delegitimize and, if possible, have a de facto impeachment run at Donald Trump. So they're too afraid to impeach him now because that's not a smart political thing to do. So they're trying to tar Bill Barr because he's the guy that brought forward the Mueller report. They didn't like what was in the Mueller report, so they're going after the messenger. They're trying to distract from 2020.
Your reaction?
I don't think he knows what he's talking about, because that's not what we're trying to do at all. What we're trying to do is our job, and that is look at the Mueller report, analyze it, see the underlying evidence that supported the report, talk to the people that prepared the report, and then decide what, if anything, needs to take place from there.
Congressman Rouda, your body on the Hill has the opportunity, the responsibility, the chance, if you will, to change the game with regard to what's redacted without anybody else doing it. You could change the rules, the law, based on grand jury testimony and what has been left out. Why not do that and then take a look at it and make your own determination?
Well, let's keep in mind that every single member of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, signed a resolution demanding that the Attorney General provide the Mueller report to Congress unredacted.
Yeah, but he was not going to do that against the rules because the rules currently state that he can't uncover that grand jury 6E testimony. That's how you get it. Otherwise, we're all in trouble. You make that promise. But you could change it in Congress. Why not change it? Why not change it? Make it easy.
Congress deals with classified information all the time. And they're quite prepared in the Judiciary Committee and Intelligence Committee to be able to handle that information. And these are just roadblocks that the AG is throwing up that don't need to happen. So let's get the report with the evidence to those committees to do the proper investigation and analysis of the work that was done and understand how Russia has influenced our elections and will continue to meddle in our elections and what we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen.
That's in about the first 40 pages.
Hopefully have a president work with us to do so.
About the first 40 pages, a lot on Russia and what they tried to do, irrespective of any of the allegations. But not one word
from our president about it.
Congressman Ruda, we'll bring you back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harris.